Good afternoon, sir.
Just switch off your mic, please. It's going live, so nobody should be talking except me. All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, wherever it is that you're joining us from, my name is Joshua Awesome, and I welcome you to our September edition of Mind Your Mind. While we wait for those who are still trying to log in and join us, I just wanted to just take a moment to just explain what this monthly meeting stands for and represents. I am privileged to be focused in the area of coaching psychology, stress reduction, and this journey has brought me into a space and place where I have, through my work in research, as a part of the Global Academic Research Institute, who was also privileged to co-chair the 2020 summit that was held here in South Africa. I began to think about how, as human beings, we are not living a life of peace because of a lack of clarity around our purpose, or even those who are clear about their purpose or have some form of understanding about it, are sometimes experiencing some challenges from a mind space perspective. And that, to a large extent, has drawn me as a person to set up what is now called the African Institute of the Mind. So the African Institute of the Mind is primarily passionate about one goal and one goal alone: to help Africans to mind their minds. And we do that through our monthly Mind Your Mind Masterclass. And we've had a couple of such masterclasses over the last couple of months. We've been privileged to host several colleagues around the world, one of which is a gentleman by the name of Bill Duane. Bill Duane used to be the head of Google's well-being division in San Francisco in the United States of America. And Bill had supported us with his presence by being one of the speakers and facilitators at one of the last Mind Your Mind editions. And aside that, I've also had the privilege of hosting a colleague of mine who is a Jamaican American by the name of Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin, who's also a transformational coach and a medical doctor by profession, by training. I've had the privilege of also hosting a colleague of mine and friend, Dr. Maimuna Kadri, who is a psychiatrist and also runs her practice in Lagos, Nigeria. Not to take too much time talking about the past speakers, I think we should just delve and focus on today's meeting. And there's a story behind the story and our focus for today. And our theme and topic for this edition is Ready, Set, Reward. And there's a story behind the Ready, Set, Reward by itself. And I will be sharing this as we journey. But I wanted to first and foremost just start out by asking everyone who is joining us, please, as you log in, please keep your microphone on mute. And also, please, if you have your cell phone and other devices beside you, please kindly just put them on silent or flight mode. And as we delve into this week and today's edition, I wanted to first and foremost just start by saying that African Institute of the Mind is the nonprofit arm of my coaching and consulting company, which originally started in Nigeria some 21 years ago, called Awesome Associates, and has grown into an African personal and peak performance consulting company here in South Africa to the world, now called or registered as Awesome Impact Media. Our trading name is Awesome Coach Team Build and Training Systems. We've been privileged to add value to over 100,000 professionals in various sectors across the continent. And so our way of giving back to our society is by hosting this monthly Mind Your Mind meetings, which we do free of charge. And so you are welcome to share the word and spread the word amongst your friends, family, colleagues, and all the various spaces and places that you have some form of contact access. So long as it will add value to a person, you are welcome to share it. And this session, even though it's via Zoom right now, it's also live via YouTube. And you're welcome to go back to that YouTube link to watch it, to share it, because we believe that with the way the world has gone, one of the things that we need to constantly be doing is to stay plugged in. And you will get to appreciate what I'm talking about as we spend some time highlighting some of the things that I'm going to be unpacking in this special edition. So just to move on, my very first slide are words that are more or less my focus and theme for this month. And every month I use a theme to guide myself in my journey and in what I get to do. So basically, this quote resonates with me and means a lot to me. And I'd like to take a moment to just unpack it for those who are joining us. The journey is in itself the reward. Now, it's quite interesting that as human beings, many times when we have a dream or a goal at the back of our minds, one of the things that we are constantly doing is that we're always thinking of what has happened or what has not yet emerged. In other words, we are bogged by the past, or we are constantly thinking of the future. And those are 2 days we should not be worrying about: yesterday and tomorrow. Which is one key thing that I'd like to start with today. We need to be so present, otherwise we would not enjoy the presence that the present brings to us. And that's why this quote for me is so important. The journey is in itself the reward. Now, as one who continues to live and learn, the one thing that I constantly allow myself not to get carried away into or by is the past, or to be so soaked into the future and worried and concerned about the future that I'm not enjoying the present. And so this photograph also reminds me of a part of my life that is quite interesting. When I'm not doing coaching work or I'm facilitating learning for some of my clients, the one thing that I do is that I take time to climb mountains. And last time I checked, I have successfully climbed 5 mountains. Now, there's a story behind each of those mountains. And that's partly what I will be focusing on today. So I don't know what journey you are trying to embark on. I don't know what journey you have embarked on since we began this year 2020. And many people want this year to actually end. I mean, for people who are in school, they have missed a lot of school days. For those who are business people, a lot of challenges have emerged and occurred by virtue of the global pandemic. However, the interesting thing about it is that the situations that we find or found ourselves in is a journey. And one of the things that I was hearing people talk about over and over again was that we can't wait for the pandemic to be over so that we can return to our lives, our normal lives. And some people now begin to refer to this time and season as the shift has emerged, and the crisis has gone through a cycle of sorts, and we're now in a place where everyone is now wondering and thinking, okay, maybe this is a new normal. The reality is that what some of us have seen as a new normal has been a normal way for some people for a very long time. So, for example, I know of young people who, during this pandemic, have not missed one day of school. Now, you may wonder, how is that possible? The truth about it is that when you are a futurist, and when I say futurist, I mean when you are thinking into the future, you don't allow the future to so occupy your mind that you are missing out of the beauty and bounty that the present is bringing to you. What do I mean by that? So, take for example, if we all knew that the coronavirus, the pandemic that we faced this year, 2020, if we knew about it 2 years ago, what would we do differently? Now, I'd like you to take a pen and paper and write what you would do differently if you had known about the coronavirus before it emerged in the world. So I'll tell you one thing that we did differently. So we pulled out my children from school and began a homeschooling system for them some 2 years ago. And so in my garden, I have a granny's tent. That's how we call it in South Africa, like a granny's shed of sorts, where it's a small like house, made from wood, and it has its own tent like structure. And we basically put together a classroom inside that granny tent, as we call it in South Africa. Now, here's the interesting thing about it. And then the one thing that we went on to do was we hired a teacher who was showing up full time every day and coming to basically teach my children inside that granny tent. Now, so fast forward to when the coronavirus surfaced, we literally did not have to do anything differently. We continued to educate and help our children to learn and enjoy, to the point that right now, as I'm talking to you, my children are on holiday. Now, here's the thing about it. When you think about the future, the one thing that we need to constantly realize is that the future is waiting for us. But for us to experience it, we need to be so connected with what is happening in the present that we notice the signs, the signals, and the speakings that our soul is connecting with about things. And if we listen to the signals, we will learn a whole lot. And in learning a whole lot, we will be open to unlearning some things. So for example, regular schooling patterns needed to be unlearned, where you don't necessarily have to go to a physical place where everybody was gathering back then for you to have experienced school. I know a lot of schools now that now have online systems. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of universities around the world that are now using Zoom to be able to connect with their students. Where am I going to with this? The journey is in itself the reward. And so as I progress to my next slide, I'd like to just quickly highlight something very important. This photograph that you see, and I hope you see it on your screen there, this photograph that you see has a story behind it. It's a photo of me holding the national flag of the country of my birth. Yes, I was born in Nigeria. However, I have grown to realize that Nigeria is just a geographical location. We who are part of the 54 or now 55 African countries should see ourselves as Africans, not West, East, South, or whatever part of Africa you currently live at or live in. And so Nigeria is the country of my birth, but I see myself as an African. And so I said that to say this: that flag that I am holding onto in the icy space in Mont Blanc has been to several mountains. And as I think about it, the interesting thing is that the journey climbing Mont Blanc is in itself a very strategic lesson. If you look behind me, if you look at the photograph, you will see that there are some people behind me there. And the thing about the journey in climbing mountains is that it is one thing to climb. It is another thing for the mountain to go through you. In other words, it's one thing for you to physically be at the base of a mountain, climbing a mountain. It's another thing for you to really literally experience the entire journey. So whether you summit or not, it's not as important as the journey that you have embraced, the experience that you have embodied. Because many times as human beings, we are too destination disease driven that we miss out on enjoying the moment, enjoying the space, enjoying the place where we are at. So the truth is, no matter how many times I climbed Mont Blanc, the journey that I took, the very first journey I took, will be totally different from every other. And I share that from a perspective of someone who has climbed Kilimanjaro twice. Now, here's the thing about that. When we as human beings generally get ourselves to that place where, we are enjoying the beauty of our journey, the journey in itself begins to help us to understand the bounty, the beauty. And my challenge is that many of us are not enjoying our journeys. We are so soaked up into destinations that we are missing out on the beauty of our journey. And so I say that to everyone who is here today and those who are also chiming in or joining us via YouTube, to say that please pause and enjoy the very journeys that you find yourself on. Enjoy it so much that it nourishes your soul. Enjoy it so much that the learnings that it is bringing your way, you are grabbing it and getting it, so that you can unlearn what is not serving you. And the reason I share this is because many people are holding on to the past. that is not progressing them in the present and could impede their enjoyment and nourishment of the future. So I ask you to be so present in the journey you are taking right now, because it's by being present in it that you are able to get the very best from it. And as you get the very best from it, you'll be ready for the next best space or place that is about to emerge. So the next slide is quite interesting, and I'm one who likes understanding definitions. So if you remember, the theme for this month is ready, set, reward. So I'm now at the set bit of our focus today. And there's a reason why I put the question mark beside the word set. Because set could mean different things to different people. For you, set could mean you are putting something in place. And that's why I put the photograph of, the fruit division of the supermarket we went to shop at in France before we began our climb on Mont Blanc. And there's a story behind going to this fruit market, actually. Now, I recall when we arrived France, and this is quite an interesting story. We had arrived France, and the interesting thing about it is that when we got to France, the mountain guide who was going to lead us up Mont Blanc informed us that they are picking up some signal. And I was wondering what he was talking about, because he wasn't holding a walkie-talkie. He didn't have a remote control. I mean, there was no walkie-talkie that he was using to communicate with, the mountain range or the Mont Blanc Natural Resort organization or office. But there was something very, very interesting. Because he had climbed Mont Blanc severally, he had gotten accustomed to the mountain range. He had gotten insightful. He had gotten intuitive. He had gotten what I call intuitive hits. He had gotten a lot of inside information. And that's where I'd like to pause. What you are doing right now, whether you are studying, you're running a small business, you are working for a company, you are part of a nonprofit, you are a younger person, you are an elder person, whoever you are, whatever you do, you work for government, you're a member of parliament, whoever you are, here's the interesting thing. You need to constantly be asking yourself, am I bringing my best self to this day, to this journey? Because when we are not doing that, the truth is that we are missing out on the beauty and bounty that is about to emerge. So here's the story behind this story. My mountain guide in France said to us, he said, you know what, guys, I'm so sorry. I know we're supposed to begin the climb today. However, we will not be beginning this climb until the next 2 to 3 days. And so we had to just relax in France and went shopping, buying some veggies, some fruits. And those of us who needed to, get some additional mountain gear went to Quechua, which is a brand in France there, to basically go and buy what we needed. Now, all of those actions and activities were literally setting us up for an excellent climb. The fruit shopping and every other thing was preparing us and putting us in the best place so that we are in the right space to bring our best self. Now, here's the interesting thing about it. We eventually began the climb, and as we began the climb, it felt as if we were in a movie. And I'll tell you why it felt as if we were in a movie in a moment. But before I tell you about that, I'd like you to look at the photo to my right, and maybe it's to your left, I don't know. There's a gentleman sitting by a piano there. This gentleman actually comes to that part of France every day. And when I met him, this was after the climb, I asked him, what do you do? He says, I play music to bring calm and healing to people. Now, here's the interesting thing. Nobody is paying him to do that. The organ you see there, the piano, is very heavy. As a matter of fact, it has tires. When he's done for the day, he packs it and wheels it to his truck and takes it home. Now, the CDs you see by the side here are some of his work. And he basically uses that to support his journey. And there's a reason why I'm sharing this. For some people, we want to be paid to impact society, not knowing that it is as we serve society that we literally get paid eventually. So what do I mean by that? What you will do that you don't need to be paid for is your calling. What you do and get paid for is your job. So here's where I'm going to with all of that. Just like a clapperboard, every one of us is setting ourselves up, whether we know it or we don't, for a reward of sorts. And until we decide to realize that nobody needs to pay us before we decide to do that which is right. And I paused on purpose because I wanted you to think about that. What you're doing right now, whether you're studying, schooling, you own a business, you work for government, you're part of a nonprofit, whatever it is you do, you're a parent, you're a young person, think about it and remember that you are not doing it for anybody. As a matter of fact, when you intentionally bring yourself to it, what you are doing is that you are setting yourself up. And that's the definition that I put up here. When I looked at the word set, it means to put or bring into a specified state. So every time you bring your best self into whatever it is you are doing, what you are doing is that you are building upon it. And as you build upon it, you are preparing yourself for a beautiful place that is the next place. So as I begin to close, I wanted to just take a moment to just bring this to the fore. A lot of times as human beings, we miss out on the beauty of the moment. So just like a garden or a field, it is trapped with energy. And the same way a field is trapped with energy, that is how we human beings are also trapped with energy. So energy could mean, it could be positive, it could be otherwise. The question I want to ask you right now is, what energy have you brought into your space, into your life up until this point? if you look at your life today, today is the 27th of September, 2020. The last 1 year, if you think about your life, would you say you are proud of every energy that you have expressed, the things you have done, the things that you continue to do the last 1 year, the things you did the last 1 year? Are you proud of it? If you are not proud of it, for it not to repeat itself in your future, because that is how it's going to show up, you need to decide that the energy that you have put into the past, the last 1 year, for there to be a change in your life, you need to be intentionally bringing yourself and deciding not to express negative energy, whether it is to family, whether it's to friends, whether it's to colleagues, or yourself. Because the truth about it is, for you to first bring your best self to anybody, you need to be your best self first for you. So, for example, if you are not looking after yourself, nobody can look after you. If you are not caring about your health, nobody can care about your health. If you are not thinking about what you are consuming, and consuming here could mean anything. It could mean audio, it could mean video, it could mean books, it could mean magazines, it could mean anything you are consuming on social media, whatever it is. At the end of the day, remember that you are responsible for the choices that you make. And so if you cannot even manage yourself, the one thing that you need to do is you need to be vulnerable enough to find a community like this. And when I say community like this, the African Institute of the Mind is constantly open to assisting anybody and everybody, organizations, individuals, and my nephew is on this session today, David, and I give some time even to him. And I say this from a good place because I want everyone to realize that every one of us should be serving and finding a way to impact the lives of people around us, because it is as you serve others that you also will be served. And so I share that from a good place, and I say that as I move towards the very last of the last slides, I'd like to share with you some thoughts by Thich Nhat Hanh. And Thich Nhat Hanh is a man who has a history with Colombia and some of the challenges that emerge in his country. He's one person, he experienced the Vietnamese War. And from that Vietnam War, Thich Nhat Hanh has grown to become a revered icon in the world with regards to peace, with regards to learning to manage one's emotions. And he's gone ahead to write a couple of books, and one of his books is Peace is Every Step. The other book he wrote is called The Miracle of Mindfulness. And one of his books that he also writes that I recommend is Wisdom for Cooling the Flames. But I won't spend too much more time on Thich Nhat Hanh. And I just wanted to say that for a moment, because I think it's important that we sometimes understand why some of us choose the quotes and thoughts of people that we share. And it leads me to now to share Thich Nhat Hanh's thoughts. And he says, every feeling is a field of energy. A pleasant feeling is an energy which can nourish. So think about it. When you have a good feeling about something, that energy can nourish you. If you're kind to family, to friends, to co-workers, to colleagues, to people in government, if you're a government official, what you're doing is that you are nourishing not just others, but also yourself. So that pleasant feeling becomes a form of nourishment. Now, irritation is also a feeling which can destroy. So think about it. Every one of us has been irritable at some point. However, the interesting thing about that is under the light of awareness, and this is where being mindful comes to play, the energy of irritation can be transformed into energy which nourishes. So I'd like to give an example. And this is a story that I have shared before. By virtue of my work in coaching psychology and consulting, I get to commute and travel a lot. So I'd never forget, recently, a gentleman had given me a lift, and he was my Uber driver and had come to pick me up from my house. And so he came, and by the time he got to my house, I just got into the vehicle, greeted him, and we were on our way to where I wanted to go to. And I think it was actually this weekend, this day last weekend. And so he, on the freeway, was going to head towards the highway, and I was going to recommend that he not go towards the highway, but veer off via the freeway and then take a minor road, not a major road. And the interesting thing about it is that minor road was actually going to lead towards where I wanted to get to, maybe a little bit more faster. But all of a sudden, instead of him listening to me, he got angry and said, "No, I'm going to take the highway." And I kept quiet. As I kept quiet, I began to ask myself, is it something I said? Or is it something that had emerged from him? It's always one of the two. So it's either I made him feel somehow by my request, or what happened triggered something that had taken place. So when we got to our destination, instead of getting off from the taxi, I said to him, I said, "Sir, I'd like to clarify something. I noticed you were angry at me." He said, "I'm not angry." I said, "Can we talk about it?" He said, yeah, we can talk about it. He said, "The last time, I picked you up." I said, "Aha." So I said, I'm willing to listen. So the last time I picked you up, I dropped you off at the How train. You were going to Santin. And when we got to the How train, I parked by the left, and and I told you to cross, and cross the road and get to the other side and go to the How train. And I said to him, I said, "Sir, I don't remember. However, here's what I'd like you to please hear." I said, typically, when I drive myself or I'm driven with my own car to the How train station, I always park by the side of the How train station, because that road can get very busy. And for safety reasons, I think it's safer to get off by the side of the How train instead of getting off by the other side of the road and then having to be waiting for oncoming traffic to then cross to the other side. Typically, that sometimes steals time from one getting into the How train station and then getting on the train, which is timed, and nobody can stop the train when it's about to depart. If you live in South Africa, you will understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, to cut the story short, the man then said to me, he said, "Yeah, I remember. That's why I was telling you." I said, "Okay, I don't remember, but I have heard you, sir. And I'd like to just take this moment to sincerely apologize that you didn't like what I said." I said, "Obviously, you were hurt by that." He said, No, I wasn't hurt." I said, "Sir," I said, "I'm still sitting in your vehicle. And the reason why I'm sitting here is because I never want to go to bed having had a fight with somebody over something that could be resolved." So I said to him, I said, "I am sorry." And he wanted to give me a fist bump. And I mean, in the midst of the corona, I do want to take a fist bump, but I just accepted it before, something else gets triggered by that. So I took the fist bump and I gave him a fist bump back. I gave him a fist bump, and then he had a smile on his face. And then I said to him, I said, sir, I want you to please have something at the back of your mind. I said, it means a lot to me that you picked me up again. Because if you didn't pick me up again, you would have carried this energy. And I don't know how many people you've expressed this to over the last couple of days or weeks. I don't remember when you picked me up. But what is important is that I am happy that you picked me up again. He said, actually, I didn't want to come and pick you up, but it was after I'd taken the trip that I realized that it was you. I said, no, I'm happy. That's what I'm telling you. And where am I going to with this story? The man eventually left. I mean, there was still some change because that trip, some way, somehow, intuitively, I decided it was going to be a cash trip instead of, using my bank card. And so there was still some change left from the trip. And he said to me, can I use this for cold drink? I said, you are very welcome to do that. And I'm really happy that we've reconnected. And he said, no. Next time when I see that you are requesting for a trip, I really would like to come and pick you up. Here's the beauty of that story. Feeling is a field of energy. He left me with a different feeling as compared to the feeling he had when he initially picked me up. The truth about it is, whether we know it or we don't, the feelings that we express or that we don't express can leave an impression on people or can also hurt us. That's why it's important that we don't, allow irritations to flood us, to fill us to the point where we are not moving forward in life and with our lives. So as I begin to close, I'd like you to please take this away from this session today. Because whether you know it or you don't, this day, next year, the results that you will get the next 365 days will be a function of how ready you were and how set you have been. That will then lead towards the result that you desire. So, we're going to close. And as we close, I'd like to take you into a short moment of what we call mindful meditation. And this is very, 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 very powerful from a scientific perspective. And I'm asking you to please just give me a moment as we, switch to this time together. And I'd like to just close us with something very, very special for us here at the African Institute of the Mind. So I'm going to ask you to please just shut out every distraction now. We just have 10 minutes to go. And I'll ask you to please just join me in this 10 minutes moment of mindfulness.
Welcome to the Daily Calm. Today, we'll be exploring how to work with irritation. Start by finding a quiet place to sit where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with a straight back and close your eyes. Let your shoulders fall away from the neck, relaxing them back and down. Soften the forehead, the face, the hands, and stomach area. Feel the entire length of your body relax. And as you become still, place your focus on the breath. And we'll move into some rhythmic counting to both calm and concentrate the mind. Just follow my guidance as we inhale to the count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8. We'll start with an inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now allow your breath to fall into a natural rhythm, letting it become light and easy. The breath flows in, and the breath flows out. Try not to release your attention from the breath for even a minute. Observe each inhale as it turns into an exhale. Then follow the exhale as it releases. Now relax your attention, just noticing how you feel. Today, I'd like to talk about working with irritation, and I'll start with a brief story. Not long ago, I noticed an unknown charge on my cell phone bill, so I called my telecom provider to investigate. Someone answered my call, and what ensued was an experience I'm sure many of us have had. It was like a maze of small annoyances. The customer service rep couldn't identify the charge. I was placed on a long hold with grating elevator music, and then I had to be routed to a different department, and on it went. The people serving me were sincere, but the experience was fraught with frustration. After I explained my concern to a third service rep, I found myself again placed on hold. But then something shifted. I noticed a familiar tension in my body and a pang of irritation in my stomach. I recognized that I was repeating a pattern, a tendency of mine to get frustrated. So I decided to tap into my practice. I took a few deep breaths and slowly began to relax and let go of my irritation. When the call resumed, I challenged myself to remain calm and not project irritation. Eventually, the concern was resolved, the call ended, and I hung up the phone with a small sense of triumph. I maintained a sense of peace instead of slipping into a negative habit. Sure, I had lost a bit of time, but I was able to release the burden of irritation while extending kindness to another. To me, that itself was a victory. As we navigate our emotions, our choices have a reinforcing effect. Irritation strengthens irritation. Patience fortifies patience. So when you notice yourself repeating a habit of frustration or impatience, connect with your practice and make a conscious choice of which quality you want to grow. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, every feeling is a field of energy. A pleasant feeling is an energy which can nourish. Irritation is a feeling which can destroy. Under the light of awareness, the energy of irritation can be transformed into an energy which nourishes.
It's 4 o'clock.
Now, taking one last deep breath, feel your feet where they touch the ground. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Calm. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
All right. So as we close, I just wanted to just take a moment to thank everyone who's joined us. I'd also like to just begin to close with a very important lesson. Sometimes we really don't need a crowd, as it were, to get through our lives and our day. All we need is for us to experience, if possible, some form of, cloud or consistency. I'd like to leave you with these words of mine again. The journey is in itself the reward. I like to also thank the chairperson of our advisory board, Teboho Ngoi, and it's Heritage Month in South Africa. And I was looking forward to having our entire team here. We were going to do a Jerusalem dance, but I guess what we should just do is to just close with wishing everybody the very best. So you're welcome to switch on your video if you know you're still there. Otherwise, once again, I'd like to thank everyone, those who are joining us here, and those who are also joining us via YouTube. It's me, Joshua Awesome, wishing you all the very best. Bye for now.